Hello there, folks. Well, it's very unusual for me to do a video like this, but there has been some interesting developments today in the world of Doctor Who missing episodes. So I thought I would just get my thoughts down as my phone has been ringing hot all day and try and just provide a bit of background as to what's going on, who has said what, and what the future might hold. So this concerns an organization called Film is Fabulous. And what Film is Fabulous is, who Film is Fabulous are a group of film collectors who became concerned during the pandemic about film collectors, especially in the UK. And film collectors were sadly passing away because typically they tend to be of an older age, passing away, and the much loved, often very large film collections were getting junked, were getting skipped because a house had to be cleared and there was no one to take them, etc. So they came together and started to address the issue of how do you deal with and look after and encourage collectors to put plans in place to look after their film collections after they've gone. And if you follow this podcast, you'll be aware that if you're new here, do check out an episode I put out where I met with some of them. And this is just as they were starting going. And we talked about not only film collectors, but the role of television on film in film collectors, in film collections. And, you know, the vast majority of film collectors are not interested in television whatsoever, but very often they'd accrue the odd bit of TV over the years. And very often they wouldn't even realize the value of what they had. You know, Terry Burnett famously in 2011 had some Doctor Who and he didn't realize how precious it was. So we talked about that. And then since I spoke with them, there have been a number of Film is Fabulous events, which, you know, I've attended most of them and they've been wonderful. And even though they're not specifically interested in television, they're interested in cinema, projecting. Isn't it wonderful that we have this organization that are also interested now in finding and preserving television gems? And indeed, they found a number of missing episodes of TV shows which aren't Doctor Who and returned those to the copyright holders, including the BBC, ITV. In fact, last weekend there was an event at the BFI on the South Bank in London where they contributed towards an associated rediffusion event. So this is all about Film is Fabulous. And back in May this year, they held one of their events where they wanted to showcase some of the missing television that they'd found, some Emergency Ward 10, something by the Danziger brothers, an episode of Moonstrike. And I was very happy to be asked to MC the event. And after the event, I did a Q&A with members of the team, and I spoke to television archiving legend Sue Malden. And being a Doctor Who fan, I asked the obvious question. And let's have a look at what was said.
Recovered episodes of television, but as well as being a public eye fan, I'm also known as a Doctor Who fan. I even produce an occasional podcast about Doctor Who missing episodes, which is available on all good podcast platforms. Sue, let me ask you, because it's the most asked question online. You know, if you announce a battle brush, the question is there any Doctor Who? So what is Film is Fabulous's position on Doctor Who, please?
That's a really good question. It really needs addressing. Give us a bit of time. But it's an important question. And it is also very important to stress that this is not a treasure hunt, as there has been in the past. Film is Fabulous is bigger than that. It's much more than that in terms of trying to give support and help and so on to collectors and their families. But it's inevitable that stuff, I keep using that word stuff, I don't know if Stan's here, yeah. It's inevitable that stuff will turn up, as you've seen already today, and get found that was missing. So that it is an important element. Now, as far as Doctor as far as Dr. Hoover goes, you'll be able to edit this, won't you? No, as far as Doctor Who goes, we do not have a statement or anything to make at the moment. We do know fairly certainly that there are episodes missing in private collections. Some members of the Film is Fabulous team are in a considerably significant position to help on that. So when the time is right, we really do hope that it will be Film is Fabulous that manages to return at least one or two, I don't know, missing episodes of Doctor Who to the BBC. We will have a ceremony with Claire to do that, I'm sure. And, you know, that works on the assumption every one of them had to have been recorded somewhere. So I've been asked in the past, when I knew less, whether I thought we'd found the last Doctor Who. And I'd sort of look a bit vague and say, oh, I don't know. But actually now I've stopped to think about it. Everyone has been recorded. They've got to be there.
So, yeah, that was the great Sue Malden, and she made a very positive statement, and something I think that was missed at the time, because, of course, we've known about the existence of at least 2 episodes in private hands for about 10 years because of statements made in the past. But that was in the hand of one collector, and Sue said collectors, and she said at least 1 or 2. So that was really interesting and optimistic, and Film is Fabulous said that they hoped they would be in a position to be able to get those back to the BBC when the time is right, etc. And fast forward to today, and Film is Fabulous have made a really significant announcement that isn't about Doctor Who, but is about themselves. And what they have said is that they have achieved being awarded charitable status, and they are now a charity. So let's take a look at their website and their announcement today. The Film is Fabulous Trust. So they've announced, there's an audio there with John Franklin from Film is Fabulous talking about what this means. But the Film is Fabulous are delighted to announce that after lengthy consultation with the Charity Commission, their application to become a charitable trust and a registered charity has been approved. And so that will enable them to deliver on their 5 objectives, supporting private film collectors in the UK, promoting the cataloguing of private collections, and importantly, to fulfil the wishes of collectors and their estates, to identify and research missing, rare and culturally important films, that include television, of course, and to collaborate with the relevant agencies for their preservation, to champion the need for recovered films to be screened widely. So they've put on screening events themselves, they've worked with the BFI, and they're also involved with Talking Pictures Television. But to champion the need for recovered films to be screened widely with affordable licensing agreements, and to advance and encourage public interest. And what they can do now is accept donations, and they can apply for lottery funding. So what's really important, and what we can do as a community who are primarily interested admittedly in missing television, is we can now directly support that by making a donation. And I encourage everybody watching this video to do so. And that way you can help them, you can help them acquire collections, you can help them pay for storage, and so on. And as I say, this way you can directly assist with the recovery of missing items, because the more money they have, the more collections they can look after, the more they can do, and that increases the chance of missing television being found, and therefore Doctor Who. So I'll pop this in the notes below, so please do show them your support and make a donation. So they announced this earlier today, and rather interestingly, on their Facebook page, they made an interesting comment. And this was in reply to a query on that. As mentioned by Sue Malden at our Recovered event in May, we are aware of several missing episodes of Doctor Who. Several missing episodes of Doctor Who. Sue stated 1 or 2, but there are more than this in private film collections in the UK. We are liaising with the individuals about cataloguing and preserving their entire collection, including the missing Doctor Who episodes, and ensuring that copies are returned to the BBC. We expect to make a detailed announcement shortly. Gosh, well, isn't that positive? And I see no reason why we can't take that as face value. We don't need to read too much into that, but let's just take that at face value. And then this evening on X, on Twitter, Acquiring Collections, we believe there are several missing episodes of Doctor Who. Again, several missing episodes of Doctor Who and other important TV shows in collections in the UK. Charitable trust status and the ability to accept donations will enable Film is Fabulous to access entire collections for cataloguing and preservation purposes. We will, of course, return anything found to the copyright holders. We hope to make a further statement in this regard in the near future. In the meantime, please consider a donation. Gosh, well, isn't that exciting? I think that's probably the most firm statement on missing episodes we've had since an actual missing episode has been recovered. But let's be pragmatic, let's be realistic. They're hoping to make an announcement, and they're expecting to make an announcement, but I believe it when I see it. But very, very positive news. And what better reason is there to as a community, help support Film is Fabulous? Because let's face it, it's just about our only hope. What might exist in private hands in the UK? Well, as we know, and as the podcast often covers, film prints were sent around the world, returned to the BBC, and then were disposed of by the BBC. And we know from precedent that film was salvaged at the point of or just before junking. And in terms of Doctor Who, what could that be? Well, it could be almost anything, of course. We know that the ABC in Australia in 1975 returned a huge batch of missing episodes. They included a lot of episodes which are now in the archive, but they included Galaxy 4, 10th Planet, Power of the Daleks, The Underwater Menace, The Moon Base, The Faceless Ones, The Evil of the Daleks, The Ice Warriors, The Web of Fear, The Invasion, and the Space Pirates. And we know that the 2 episodes that Terry Burnett had in that he returned in 2011 were from that very batch. So anything there would be a contender, but we know specifically in the pile of films that were taken, some of which ended up with Terry Burnett, there was Underwater Menace and Galaxy 4. So I would think they're likely candidates, but also not in that list. Episodes of The Reign of Terror are said to be in private hands around the UK. And also in the 1970s, don't forget, in the early 1970s in the UK, we know for sure there were episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10 of the Daleks Master Plan. And 3 of those have survived to this day. So why not some more of those? It could be anything, which is wildly exciting. I'm sure you'll all get your hopes up for Daleks Master Plan episode 12, and in reality, it could be anything. And won't that be wonderful? Reappraising a story from good to bad or bad to good. It's exciting, but let's be practical. They hope to announce, they expect to announce. They haven't announced it yet. But yeah, exciting. And in terms of this podcast, I hope you've recently enjoyed our episode with Dominic Sambrook. We'll be back very shortly with our look at the Highlanders. And there's some great insights in there and new information. So while we wait for this announcement, follow the channel and enjoy our back catalogue. Okay, bye for now.